is Disability Pride Month. It's a time to honor people of all abilities and recognize the anniversary of the Americans with Disability Act, which was signed into law in 1990. Easterseals MORC is on a mission to celebrate unique abilities of everyone and to stress the importance of helping people feel included, respected, and of course valued. Dr. Parth Patel is here today, the medical director with Easterseals MORC. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Patel.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about this month, Disabilities Pride Month, for people who don't know much about it and the importance of it.
Well, I think you had a really good opening right there. So Disability Pride Month occurs every July, and it marks the signing of the Americans with Disability Act in 1990. It's a time to celebrate individuals with disabilities, promote inclusion, as well as to remember that, you know, it's not just a disability that defines the individual who they are, it's just part of it.
I know that this month is obviously a lot about awareness, but how can we shift the conversation to be more about celebrating people with disabilities and their contributions to, you know, everything that we have today?
Well, it starts by having the awareness, being aware that, you know, disability comes in many different forms. It's not always visible right off just by looking at someone. And once you're able to do that, kind of adding the inclusion part of it, what we mentioned, you know, kind of making sure that they're able to be part of the conversation, have a voice or have a platform on deciding what they are kind of wanting or kind of wanting to seek help for. And that kind of goes above more than just saying, oh, do you need help? It's more about saying, can we actually take them and say, what do you need help with? What are your concerns? Kind of addressing it that way.
Okay. What are some common misconceptions about people with disabilities?
The biggest misconception is the stigma that is attached with disability, saying that their disability defines who they are as a character. In reality, they could be artists, parents, leaders, professionals, or anyone just like anyone else, right? So treating them like anyone else is going to be very important, and making sure you understand that they go beyond their disability.
Yeah, I have to imagine people likely naturally put a lot of limits on people with disabilities that don't necessarily need to be there.
I'm glad you included that, because the other thing I want to mention is to understand that the assumed competence, meaning that, you know, make sure that you understand that it doesn't mean that because you have a disability, it doesn't mean that you need help or you need assistance or they're incapable of doing something. Ask first before assuming.
Can you talk to me a little bit about some basic etiquette things that people should know about interacting with folks with disability? I know a lot of people are likely afraid to say or do the wrong thing. What are some basic things that people can, you know, kind of keep in mind when we're interacting with our neighbors who have disabilities?
So like I was saying, the assuming competence is where it really starts, making sure that you understand if they need help, you ask them first. Kind of ask for permission in a sense. If they say yes, you can ask, how can I help you? And if they say no, respect their independence. Another good etiquette would be kind of making sure that you make eye contact and talk to them directly. It's very important to include them in the conversation. So whether if they're at a restaurant getting a meal or at the doctor's office, asking the question, what would you like for your meal? Or what concerns you directly kind of can have a huge impact on their mental health and their well-being.
Yeah, and I'm glad you just mentioned that. I was going to ask you a little bit about some of the mental health struggles that some of our friends, our neighbors may struggle with when it comes to having a disability.
Yeah, so individuals with disability are more likely to have mental health concerns, and that comes from a variety of factors, from isolation, from the stigma we mentioned earlier, as well as the barriers, both physical as well as from the environmental factors. So what we can do, especially with the community, is be more inclusive. So being at places that have more abilities to accommodate the individuals, such as places where they have ramps or elevators, or modifying an activity that you can include the individual.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Patel. This month is incredibly important. Hopefully it will ring some alarms. It'll raise some awareness for someone who might not be familiar with it. Again, thank you so much for being here. If you'd like to find out more about Easterseals MORC and the work they do, just go online to eastersealsmorc.org. That's eastersealsmorc.org.